Time to start fixing some of these images, making them look better. Before we get to Photoshop, we're still using the plugin, the raw plugin. This time let's open up more than one image though. Let's select this one. Now I want a non-contiguous selection. This one down here, so I hold down the Control key on Windows or the Command key on Mac. Got them both selected. Either press the Enter key or double click. We have a new feature over here now, a window that displays the selected images. Obviously, we can work on any one at a time by doing this and selecting it. However, here's a trick for you. I've taken 20 photographs of this riverbank, used the same settings, so all 20 have the same problem. I open up all 20 and I work on one with some of the stuff that's over here. We'll be getting into that in a second. And I get it the way I want it to, but I have 14 more or so down here. Select all. Synchronize. Now when you select synchronize, you can choose exactly what you want to apply to the other ones, which makes this even more valuable. You can even have settings and make your own settings. Basically, the idea is you got a lot of images, they have the same problem. This is how you solve it. Let's go ahead and get out of here and get back to our image. I want to introduce you to the histogram right there. The histogram is your friend, it's your tool, it's going to help you fix this image. It is the historical information on the image that we're looking at. Check out the difference between these two. That's quite a difference. This one has a lot of dark in it. This one is a more rounded image. In other words, it's got more stuff, more dynamic range. How does the histogram work? The histogram has a horizontal and vertical feature. Horizontally, think of the number 0 being over here and all the way on the right, the number 255. 0 stands for black and 255 stands for white. There are over 12 million little tiny pixels in this image that make up what I see. Each one of them has a number assigned to it. That number relates to its color, its saturation, and its brightness. That's what the vertical is. How many of each one? This is what I call a healthy histogram. It comes down on blacks, so we don't have a lot of black. Most images you're not going to. It comes up in the mid-ranges, all the colors, and then as we get toward the pure whites, it goes back down again. That is what I call good dynamic range, healthy histogram. Again, we go back to this one, and like sloshing things to the left, all our pixels are over on the left. Remember, taller means more. We have very little of anything from middle colors and middle tone to white. Well, you can tell, it's very easy. This one needs to be fixed. This one has some problems, but this one's going to be easier to work on because the histogram looks pretty healthy. With that done, let's play around a little bit here. Let's start with our basic, got a lot of little buttons. Let's start with our basic tools. We know white balance should be around 5500 Kelvin because this is sunlight. We could basically do it this way and change that. And you can see it makes the image a little bit more vibrant. Tint relates to the tint of the white point, not the whole image. This is not like Photoshop where you're tinting. If I take tint all the way to the left or all the way to the right, you'll notice I still have colors, but it's tinting more of the white point of the image. I want to take that back to a +10 where it was. Do you ever have this problem? You get every number but the number you want when you're dragging. You want to get to 10, it takes you to 9, it takes you to 11. Don't forget the shortcut. This works in Photoshop too. The up and down arrow keys. If I press the up and down arrow keys, I will change in increments of 1 at a time. Up for positive, down for negative numbers. If you want to go faster, hold the shift key at the same time. Shift up arrow, 10 at a time. Shift down arrow, 10 at a time. And we get close, and then we press the up arrow key a couple of times without shift to get back to 10. I like that because sometimes I just can't get the number that I want. Exposure is like changing the exposure of a camera. We can make the image lighter or we can make it darker, but I want you to look up here now. I'm going to make it darker again. Watch my histogram. See, what I need to do is stretch the histogram out, not compress it. In most cases, compressing the histogram is a bad thing. Ours was fine. We really didn't need to change it, so we'll put the exposure back to a value of 0. And again, of course, we can use those nice up and down arrow keys to get it exactly where we want it to be. Images can have clipped information based on exposure. You make your exposure too high or too low, you get pure blacks and pure whites, loss of detail. And you can see this line right here represents pure white, and this one pure black. So we do have what would be defined as clipped out areas. If you're a photographer, you might already be saying this. Andy, if it's gone, it's gone. This is a photograph. It's not the real world. If I lost the information on the negative, I'll never get it back. I agree. But this isn't a negative traditionally. This is a digital image. Digital images are sliced up into red, green, and blue, separate plates. It's possible one of the plates for the color, like red, is saturated out, but there might still be something in green and blue, and this is what happens before recovery. If one of your channels is clipped, all the others are ignored. There could be stuff there, we're just not getting it. What recovery does is works with highlights to help that out. If we click this button right here, it shows us where our clipped out areas are, all that red. Before recovery, you couldn't do this, but watch this. I'm going to go to recovery, watch those red areas go away. That means the details are back in those areas. Now I'm going to do this again. Now I want your eyes over here. Watch that line. See it go away? I'm losing my clip. That button goes black, meaning you have no more clipped areas. The whole idea of recovery is to pull information from channels that might have stuff where in the earlier days it wouldn't do it. It would say one channel's clipped, they're all clipped. Recovery is for highlights. Fill light is for shadows, the next one down. So let's go to this bad boy here. I have had that ornament all my life. My mother had it before her, and I think her grandmother had it before her. It always goes on the tree. It's very delicate, so I have to take care of it. I thought I'd take a photograph of it. I took it in natural lighting. So right balance on this would actually be shade. The sun's coming through, but it's more of a shade. That's going to change and give me the color I want. That's good. I don't need recovery on highlights. As you can see, there are no clipped out highlights. We don't have a problem there. What we have is a problem with the darker areas, and exposure is not going to help us because if we lighten up these areas, that's going to go too light. Watch fill light. I love this feature. With fill light, I can successfully brighten up the dark areas without taking away the details in the midtones to the highlights. And again, watch up on the histogram what begins happening to it. It begins spreading out, and that's exactly what I want to happen. You spread that histogram out, you're going to see more physical and visual information. So fill light is for shadows, recovery is for highlights. The next three down, I don't use that much because recovery just work with one thing, highlights. Fill light just work with one thing, shadows. Blacks works across the board. So does brightness and contrast. So they're not ones I use a lot, and I will admit a little goes a long way with these things. If I go to brightness, for example, and we're default to a +50, I can lighten the image up, but notice everything, even the black areas get lighter. It's not discriminating. So I don't want to use these very often. And if I do, like I said, a little goes a very long, long way. So you want to be careful with any of these. Clarity is a feature that's really kind of fun to work with. Let's go back to this one, though, to show you that. I talk about clarity in this respect. Clarity is the visual way our minds perceive the difference between colors. It's a little bit more technical than that, to be honest with you, but watch my image. A picture's worth 1,000 words. I'm going to take clarity down to nothing, -100. To me, it almost begins to look like a painterly effect on the image. I am beginning in my mind to lose the visual distinction between individual colors. If we go the other way, it's like it's sharpening it, but the colors become much more vibrant. That's clarity. That's a fun one to work with if you're going for a painterly effect. Let's just take that down to something like about that. Vibrance is not the saturation. That's the pure color. It's the vibrancy of that color, the way we view it with our minds in color memory. If I take vibrancy all the way down, there's still color there, but it's lost that vibrancy. If I go all the way up, the image is much more vibrant. It's not oversaturated, though. That's the difference. Let's take that back down to about here. Last one, saturation. It's been in Photoshop for 20 years. If we take this and move it down this way, we are desaturating the values of color within the image, which will convert it into shades of gray. There's a better way to do that, but that's saturation. If we go all the way to the right, we are oversaturating the colors. But you do something like this. Check this out. Do something like oversaturate, pump up your vibrance a little bit, and then now take down the clarity. It depends on the image, but you can create some really kind of cool looking paint effects, surrealistic images, just by working with clarity, vibrance, and saturation in Camera Raw.